Halo Season 1, Episode 4, Homecoming. A lot of butts. Spoilers, too. Spoilers.
Butt spoilers. Everyone, welcome back to AsArt with Nick and John, and a lot of butts on this episode. We're going to be digging into what we think, we're reading some listener comments, and just having an overall fun time with this. So check out AsArt.space for all the different type of content that we cover here. If you haven't checked out Severance on Apple TV,
yes.
That was a really fun one. We just finished covering that, and Raised by Wolves Season 1 and 2 we covered recently as well. That was a really fun ride for that as well. So a lot of fun stuff.
John, okay, so the chips are coming out. Everyone's going to be taking out chips pretty soon, which is a good thing because then we get to see some emotion. You get to see some Rebel dyeing the hair. Like, come on, let's put some... Was that blood that she put in her hair?
Yeah, I thought it was like oil or grease to oil her weapon. But then I thought she was cleaning her gun. Was she taking guts out of her gun and then smearing them in her hair? I'm like, I'm confused, but I'm like, that's a little bit weird. But yeah, I wasn't quite sure. Yeah, you know what? I'm kind of glad they're doing the whole chip removal thing because I don't know if this is not something that I'm drawing direct, kind of a comparison to, but in the prequel trilogy of Star Wars, I didn't like how the Jedi were always calm, cool, and collected. They always were acting like really cool and really, no emotion and stuff. And it kind of wasn't fun. And the Spartans were kind of like that so far in the series, and it's been kind of fun. Like we're seeing, John, our Master Chief, go on this journey of he's having personalities, having emotions, and we're getting to see, the rest of them, maybe more over time, just starting to have this as well. I'm most interested in seeing if there's going to be repercussions from that. We haven't seen a big fight with them, since doing this.
We haven't seen any action stuff.
No. And so is there going to be, are they not going to perform as well under pressure because their, anxiety and stuff like that is not going to be suppressed? So we haven't seen that yet. And it's funny because, like for a Halo show, I'm kind of impressed that they're not just falling back on the action. I say this every episode, but I keep continuing to be impressed that they're not just falling back on that. So, but yeah, it's kind of interesting. But that also does lead to a lot of butt shots, which we'll get into that more as we're going along.
Yes, and obviously we're talking about the other butt shot later on in the episode with the pool.
Yeah.
But okay, so right after that, I think we jump to, is it Master Chief on this planet, right? And he's like getting his memories back, and it's just a really cool VFX shot. They put the camera like right next to his face where you can see the helmet and his like side profile. I just thought that was a super cool shot. I just thought that was cool with the effects going on inside the room and everything. I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah, so there's a lot of...
So they're still they still have a VFX budget going on here.
Yeah, there's a lot of fun stuff. I mean, that almost feels like I haven't tried like a Windows mixed reality headset yet, but that's like, so I've had some experience with virtual reality stuff where, you put on, the goggles, the VR, the HMD, the head mounted display, and you don't see anything else. But augmented reality is you're still seeing everything around you, but it's just augmenting it with extra stuff. And, some people have, cell phones and you can pan around and see extra stuff, but where it's actually completely filling your vision and you're seeing things in stereoscopic 3D. Like I like the idea of this, like, okay, this is not too far-fetched, but you can totally see it. And I just like how it's, there in the center, it's rendering that, but on the outskirts, on the periphery of his vision, it still is regular, kind of view.
Yes.
So kind of some fun stuff in how they're presenting these things. And he's like, why can't I go out here? He's like, oh, I don't have enough information to kind of recreate this section. So there's fun ideas that are continually being thrown around.
And then I'm cool with the pacing, but I just feel like it's going a little slow for me. Were you getting that too overall? Like I like the getting to know these characters and the mystery and stuff of it.
Yeah,
but I just feel like it's been like 2 to 3 episodes now of just kind of dragging this plot along, I guess you can say.
Well, it's funny. So I am a slow burn movie and series fan. I like character development. I don't need a lot of things to be happening if it's really good story development. And I'm not saying this is not good, but I was kind of like, I don't know if there was a lot that I really enjoyed that happened. I'm not saying it wasn't a bad episode, but it's like, I don't know if the first thing when Nick and I popped on, we didn't talk about the episode. He said, what do you think? I said, I feel like Halo's kind of starting to lose me a little bit here, and I'm not saying it's not a good show, but it's starting to lose my interest a little bit. That being said, we're coming off of Raised by Wolves Season 2 and Severance, which were splendid, thought-provoking, deep shows. And this is a different type of show, not any less of a show, it's just a different type of show. And so it's, it's almost not a fair comparison. But
you
it's just,
need
for
to
a
fill
different
that
audience.
void
Yeah, I know, exactly. Yeah.
This is like an innie show. We kind of want an outie show.
I'm being severed right now, and I don't want to be severed right now. Yeah. Sorry, we're throwing out stupid, not even smart references.
Oh, you guys need to watch this show. It's such a good show on Apple Plus. Yeah. Okay, and then so we're going to this desert Jabba the Hutt palace place in the middle of nowhere with our Han Solo and all that, Princess Leia going over, which we talked about in the last episode. If you want to hear our Star Wars reference, go watch the previous episode. But there's these really cool colored hills before they walk in. And it reminded me, I think they're called the Painted Hills in Death Valley. And I just like, I wonder if they shot the foreground shot in Death Valley and then they added the building and the landscape around and stuff like that. I just thought it was a really pretty looking shot with the cityscape and all that stuff in the background.
And it's funny for you to mention, because did they actually shoot it there? They just use assets and background plates and add that into the composite, which is hard because like my roommate, when I was in graduate school, I was watching a fun movie of mine. It's called The Way of the Gun. If you guys haven't seen it, it's kind of like a Pulp Fiction-y type of film, but he's like, oh, that was shot in, in Utah or blah, blah. And he was pointing to, different places, and you knew it was like shot on location there. But now like for, effects type shows like this, it's like, okay, you could just be borrowing assets, and maybe they didn't necessarily shoot on location and then add stuff to that. They could have just taken the mountains in the background or whatever it is. But yeah, it's cool that you're maybe potentially recognizing stuff. Do you guys know, maybe if you watched in the credits at the end where, it maybe said where it was shot, if you guys noted, if it said where it was shot on location, if you guys noted that, maybe let us know in the comments. That'd be fun to hear.
And then we kind of get a glimpse at the big bad, right? Or not the big bad, but one of the villains, kind of, right? And he hops. I don't know. I'm not. I think he looked more intimidating just in the images we saw of him and the little news clips. And then I'm just like, I don't know, man. And then he hops into an SUV. And I started busting up because of the way the SUV looked. I'm like, no, this is not happening. Like, that was so funny that they hop into an SUV with like guys in black suits. Like, it's like full on, just like modern day, like private security stuff. And I was like, what? This doesn't show right in this episode.
I mean, I think they're trying to establish that, okay, the city's run a different way now. It's more of a, kind of oppressive type of, setup. And it, of course, worked for that. And he's also concerned about his safety. So he has this, almost like a bodyguard system set up. And you know what? I wasn't a fan of Mandalorian either overall. I know Nick, covers it more. But you don't have to be a strong, powerful character to be a good protagonist or a good villain. I forgot the guy that played Gus in Breaking Bad. I'm sorry. I love the actor, but I can't remember his name. But, he's not an intimidating looking guy, but the way he portrays his character in The Mandalorian and in Breaking Bad, he's super intimidating. And this guy, I think they're trying to go for the same idea. Like, hey, he doesn't have to be this big, hulking 6'5" type guy in order to be a mean guy. Exactly. And he kind of has that look. He kind of has. He
definitely has the look. He definitely.
Yeah, like he has like the Grand Moff Tarkin, like almost sunken in features, like defined features. But yeah, the way he was presented and the lines he's had so far weren't great. But that doesn't mean we haven't had too much exposure to him yet. He may get much better as time goes on. But yeah, I wasn't like sold on him, and then the whole pool
I definitely was like, just from an image at first. I was like, ooh, I can't wait to meet this guy. Then I met him like, kind of has like a William Dafoe mixed with like another character.
Oh yeah, that's a good. Yeah, he kind of has a Willem Dafoe, very chiseled features, very lean. That's a good comparison. Though no one compares to Willem Dafoe. There's only one Willem Dafoe for sure.
Amazing. Yeah. And then
he's crazy as we.
So were you enjoying the whole side story? Like, she's looking for her family to get money to pay. I can't remember his name, and then like the assassin, which I wasn't really like getting the. I don't know. It's so funny. Like these security guards that are shooting at them on the bike. I'm like, are these stormtroopers? Like, how does everyone always miss like their shots? It's so funny.
Yeah, she's obviously a major character, so I'm not going to say she's not an important character, but this almost feels like the whole side story in the second, of the newest Star Wars movies where, they have the two that
Rogue
go
One?
off and they're at the casino.
No. That one. Oh,
the mainline one. Yeah. Like Rose and what's his name?
The
they
Jedi
go off.
one, the Jedi movie.
Yeah. And it's a whole separate thing. And I'm not saying it's not good. It's way better than that from Star Wars. It's way better than that, but it's just like, okay, I like the idea. Some movies and shows do a very good job where they have multiple stories going on at once. Like Severance that we just finished in the last episode, the finale has multiple people going on in different locations, and it's cut together and edited beautifully. There was a particular particular location I was much more interested in than the others.
Which one were you interested in out of the three? I'm just curious.
I was honestly most interested in
Silver Team?
The experiment. Yeah, the
Silver Me Team. Too. Yeah, most definitely.
The experimentation. Because
that was the best.
I feel like we're actually getting dialogue
and
that's
character
more
development.
Fun, and character development and story, development in that regard. Just the dialogue was more fun, and its characters.
It's so
it's
good.
Funny that you said
that. That's the word they say every time we're about to shoot them or something like that. They're like, that word.
And it's funny because it really wasn't important dialogue, but it was just, I don't know, it felt more. I don't know how to explain it. Yeah, it was just,
it was just dragging at the house. Like, I get they wanted to tease, like, oh, maybe he, like we talked about, which we have a comment about, which we're going to read, but like the clone thing, and like he was taken, and then who knows what happened to his family or the clone or whatever like that on the planet and all that stuff like that. So it's very, it's really
funny
dragging.
Because I can only try and project how hard it would be to do this stuff, because you want to develop your main character. You want to develop your story. It's just not about the action sequences, and they're doing a wonderful job and kind of shining it. But at the same time, it's like, boy, your characters have to be good, and what you're showing has to be really good in order for it to pay off. And so I can't even imagine how difficult it is to ride that balance.
I'm also bummed the artifact they were looking for was there. I'm like, really? Yeah, come on, really? Like, it's all first planet you go to. Like, come on, like, you really must be rushing something here. You would think like it would end the episode with them finding, or the season of them finding the two things, not like middle of the season. So I mean, there might be a way bigger twist coming up then. You know what I mean? Which is good. Like if that was what I thought was going to be the big ending twist, there might be something better coming along. So
I mean, it would feel very game questy if they got there and it was the spot where it was, but it wasn't there. But there was a clue where they had to go next, like the next step in the fetch quest. That would have made sense. But it also, I don't know. I mean, it's interesting that they didn't have to do 5 more episodes to get there. So I kind of respect that in one regard, but at the same regard, it's like first place, like you said, the first place they went. Oh, there it is. Well, okay,
there you go.
Yeah. So this could be good or bad. I have no idea. Yeah. And check. So I don't see that as a good thing or a bad thing, but I was kind of surprised that it was just there. Yeah.
And then what did you think about that line with the desert people? Like, her father went out to the desert and he was told this thing, what to do. You think they'll follow up with anything like that? You think they'll head to the desert? Okay.
I think, because that felt like as soon as this aunt was giving you that huge revelation, before we even knew the assassin was coming, it's like, oh, she's like, the Obi-Wan Kenobi that gives her hero's journey information, and then that, guiding person is taken out of the story. So I'm like, Auntie's going to die in about 3 minutes. And then, you see Assassin, she gets stabbed. I'm like, yeah, okay, Auntie's dead. So it would make sense that this is, kind of projecting her down her hero's journey now. So I would think that is going to happen. Obviously, I don't know, but it would be weird if they didn't have her follow this in some way, shape, or form. Because why else would you even take the on-screen time to, give all this exposition? Yeah.
And then I'm super excited they're going to be figuring out the language, like decoding it, because I think that's going to be for good content later on when it comes to encrypting messages and stuff like that. And then, okay.
Which is funny because that's completely along the lines of that was it Enigma or whatever it is, where they're trying to crack the World War II. It's like they needed to find common phrases and then to help. Like, so it's kind of funny that actually borrow
it's kind
from real world
from
stuff.
real world. Yes, I love that. And then what do you think of that last line? She doesn't tolerate glitches.
Yeah, it's obviously. I thought it was a good way to end the episode, because obviously she's been monitoring Master Chief, very carefully, but it's been serving her purposes well enough that she's been getting what she wanted out of allowing him to do that. Like, she's gotten this second big artifact that she really wants. And, it was just a nice way to lead into the next episode. It's like, okay, we got a hint at the end of the previous episode talking about, the other scientists are saying, well, what if John remembers more than we want him to. Like, that's what we have Cortana for. And now he's remembered more than they wanted him to. And now, we have, this girl kind of explaining that, she doesn't tolerate glitches. So I assume at this point, she's going to try and get him back into alignment, as far as whether it's, replacing that chip or, not allowing him to have this freedom. But I feel like this next episode is probably going to be more back to mainline story. Because of this, this was almost like a side quest. I keep going back to game because Halo is a game. And I don't think that's bad. Like I like, this is almost like a side episode for character development. It's not a bad thing at all. I didn't think it was a bad episode. But I think this next episode after this will probably be more back to mainline story. Cool. Which is fine. You do a couple mainline stories, do a side, quest or whatever, and then, back to it.
Back to the main mission. And then it was weird we didn't get the alien Covenant girl at all this episode.
Yeah. I was curious about that. It's like, it's kind of weird that it would make sense. She's,
she's just going to pop up somewhere with worms.
I do like when there's time elapsed between you see someone and then you see them in a different situation and you can tell there's been some, like, something's happened to them along the way, but you don't need to see that. So I'm hoping that's kind of what's going to happen to her. Maybe she's had some experiences that she'll just kind of reference in her dialogue, What did you think I was saying?
Well, no. I was thinking Dumb and Dumber. You know how they're going to translate her message? I was just thinking like it's going to be the quote from Dumb and Dumber. It's a worm farm. I got worms.
Yeah.
That's what we're going to call it. Like that's what they're going to translate.
Yeah, that's hilarious.
All right, we have some cool comments to read.
Yeah.
On that note, I got
with
worms.
That, yeah.
Oh,
that wasn't one of the comments. That was
be all over the internet. I got worms.
All right. So JTS 616 says the buddy is right about the cloning, which is Chris.
Yeah.
Chris is the buddy. We're gonna have Chris on at some point talking about Halo.
Halo expert.
In the games, Halsey did some shady stuff and cloned the children she chose with the right genetic makeup. Left the clones in place of the real children. Oh, that's interesting. The clones weren't stable, so she knew the clones would die and performed the upgrades and training on the children she pretty much stole. Okay, so that's interesting. So she basically got things going the way she wanted. Okay, that's interesting.
Kind of what I think I explained it like that too, right? I was pretty aligned with that, basically. They would clone it, they would take the original, and then they would leave the clone. They would clone the kids. Okay, cool.
So cool. So thank you, JTS 616.
Yeah, now we know Chris isn't a liar.
Maybe you're the 616th clone yourself. But thank you for that confirmation. That's fun to hear this backstory. And again, it's going to be fun to see what they do take from the game lore and what they do new for the series. It'll be fun to see this stuff. All right, so Fernandez T. In my humble opinion, I do not like this show. Who wanted to see MC naked? Yeah, Master Chief naked.
Kyle did.
Boy, you got a lot more of that stuff this episode. But if you did not like Master Chief, you also got all kinds of other people.
Butts and you cannot lie.
Or just butts, all of all types. Let's see. I also hate the evil lady. Yeah, you know what? I'm not sure what I think of her at this point. I'm glad we at least have some backstory of. Well, that's some backstory, I guess. So let's see.
I got worms.
The aliens are very anti-human racist, so I don't get how she's there with them. Kumbaya BS. They dumbed it all down or something to appeal to women. I don't get it. Yeah, you know what? I mean, they had that flashback, I think, to try and give us an understanding why she would be with them. It's like, hey, she had such a bad experience with humans that at that point in time, the Covenant actually seemed like good to her, but at the same time, I totally get what you're saying.
That young, you can be brainwashed, and obviously,
that's true. Yeah.
Obviously it's needed. Like they need her. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's like in Rickon's book, your job needs you. Rickon from
oh gosh, he's quoting all kinds of stuff from other shows, you guys. That's from Severance if you're curious what that is. Yeah, so very good show, but I feel like we're all right.
Still
so
on the
brain. Fernandez, I do agree with you though. There's some stretches there, but then again, this might be a case of we're going to be more endeared to her and understand her story as we go along. Like, we might have to give it some time. But yeah, as at first glance, I'm like, okay, they got a bleached hair girl to be the Covenant, like, big bad girl. Like, I don't get it. Like, I'm not really into it. And I was talking to Nick about all the butts in this show. It's like, yeah, it's like in Game of Thrones, South Park would make it's like, it's flappy wieners, and now we have just butts in this show. I'm like, all right, well,
butts.
Yeah, tight butt, flexed glutes is what we have in this show. Yeah, so I don't know.
Who's your trainer?
Yeah.
Oh no!
All right, all right, flexy glutes. Here we go, and action. All right, see so, and glutes.
On
all right,
your
so
toes.
We got
okay.
Yeah, I was like, we got Jesus Judas. I was very unhappy with the helmet thing at first, but I'm off that horse entirely. Let what they're doing play out and ignore the established Halo lore. Grow there. I'm enjoying it ever so slightly more. I do feel like some of the storytelling is a bit clumsy, clunky in places, and the acting can be subpar. I'm down to continue, but I'm still on the fence about whether this is a good show or a lot of good sci-fi concepts presented poorly. Yeah, you know what? I think Nick and I were thrown off about, but yeah, we'll go through it a couple, both paragraphs. Like at first I was thrown off by the whole Master Chief, no helmet thing the majority of the time, just because I think everybody was comparing it to Mandalorian. It's like, it was such a big reveal when he did take off his helmet and it kept so much, but there's no reason they had to go that same route.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, and we got that really cool shot where we can see his face and inside the helmet.
Yeah. And now that they've established that, like you were saying, now we're past that, and now we can just move on
now
and
we can have
enjoy
him
it for
naked
what it is.
in the bathroom.
Now we're way beyond the helmets, and as far as the storytelling, yeah, you know what? I mean, what do you think, Nick? Like, it's clearly well planned out. Would you say it's clunky and the acting subpar? I don't know.
It's the development of the character. I don't think it's the actor's fault. I think it's the material they're working with. And
yeah,
I think the actors are doing a good job. I mean, it's tough, right? Because like, I don't know the director personally. Like I mean, like who's directing it, and not all directors work good with actors. And think about it though, like most of these characters weren't supposed to have personalities for most of the show so far. And the Covenant girl, she's probably brainwashed to the point where she doesn't have a person. It doesn't look like she has a personality. She's hanging out with worms. I mean, yeah. So, and it's one of those things like you can't be too hard on anyone because it's not just one person making all the calls. It's a group of people that lead down to the final decision. But most of the time it's the producer's call at the end of the day. So,
yeah, you know what? For me, I just look at this. So, I mean,
it is a little clumpy though.
It is, but I've been around long enough to see the Street Fighter movie, the Mortal Kombat movies, which were considered one of the better ones.
Super Mario movie.
Oh, that's maybe the best. There have been some atrocious game-based movies. Yeah, Prince of Persia. I mean, that any of them have been even decent is almost amazing. I mean, game IPs made into shows just tend to be absolutely awful.
Assassin's Creed.
That was pretty rough, but that any of these are actually, that this show is doing as well viewership as it is. It's like, hey, you know what? To me, they're doing a great job because we're still watching, like I said, it's kind of losing me a little bit, this week. But it's not a bad show.
Yeah.
It's just maybe not my type of show. I usually would not be like, I can't wait to watch a game. Like I love The Last of Us Part 1, the PlayStation game. I didn't care for Part 2. You guys can hate me if that's the case.
Never played the game, but anyways, keep going.
Yeah. But I'm not excited to watch the show. I'll probably check it out, but I'm not excited to watch. Like video game IPs can become
they have a
good
shows,
actor, though. But yes, of course.
I like Pedro Pascal. I think.
Yeah.
His last name. I like him overall as an actor, like Narcos and stuff like that. So, yeah, I have faith in him. As it is, his back's already broken from carrying the Mandalorian and Boba Fett on his back. Like poor guy, dude. I mean, his back's probably looking great from all the weight he's been carrying, but.
Well, it's just all from, I mean, the good thing about The Last of Us is it's a very story-rich game. It's a story-based game, right? Yeah. This is not a story-based game.
It's a first-person shooter.
It's a first-person shooter where it's action-based. It's not even a, like, Half-Life, which is a old-ass game, had more story in it than this did.
But this can benefit it, though, right? Because if they kind of go their own route. I mean, it's pros and cons to everything, and it's just... They've been trying for years. Peter Jackson tried. Like, everyone's tried to make a Halo, so...
Yeah. So, I think it's going well, and they obviously have to stay within the Halo universe, and they have to stay within certain tropes that have already been established and certain things that have been established within this universe. And within those confines, they have still a lot of flexibility. I think they've been doing fine. It's just probably not my favorite show, but it's just because it's not my favorite show, not because it's a bad show. But so yeah, but
and it fills up our Thursdays after Praised by Wolves. We were like, we're gonna have this schedule on Thursdays.
Yeah. And last but not least, I don't know if you want me to cover this one, but Chris Wiz says, oh, this is from, I think, episode 2, when I was very impressed and surprised they didn't have a battle scene or an action sequence every single episode. And I was like, yeah, maybe it's going to come at the end of the show. No, maybe it's going to come after the credits. So Chris Wiz said, maybe the battle scene will come after the credits. LOL, hilarious. Yeah, I just thought it's like,
he's a funny guy.
Yeah, Marvel episodes, Marvel world, you never know until the credits are completely done if you're going to get something else. I was like, well, you never know, but...
Imagine, though, they just cut, it's like machine gun fire and, like, aliens just getting slaughtered.
Scope, slaughter. But, yeah, I mean, you never know with this stuff. But, I mean, honestly, I am impressed that they've been focusing more on story development, and this episode's a good.
I'm excited for an action sequence, though. I really am. Like, I this build up. Like when you go to a restaurant and like on purpose they'll like sit you down for hours before they deliver the food. So when you get the food, you're just like, this is so good. It's like that's what I feel like they're doing. They're like teasing us out for an action sequence.
I mean, I will say, if we were getting action sequences like episode 1 every single episode, I feel like that would be corny and unneeded. Like the first person view, when I saw that in episode 1, I was like, oh God, it's almost kind of cringy, So I'm glad they're not going that route, but at the same time, it's like, boy, at some point we're probably going to need to get some more action sequences.
Pick up the pace.
No, I mean, I think it's fine. We'll care more about those action sequences if we're attached to the characters. And maybe that's what they're trying to do. So we'll see what happens.
Who's going to die? You want to close this out?
Yeah. All right, guys. So let us know down below in the comments what you've been thinking about the series so far. Have you been surprised by how they've been going? Do you think there's going to be more action? Every show, I think we're going to have a big shootout this sequence. Oh, it's coming. Here we go. Nope. There was not really any Covenant in this whole episode. So it's been very interesting. I'm curious to see and hear in the comments what all of you have been thinking, or what you were expecting versus what we've been getting so far. So been really fun stuff. Check out AsArt.space for all the audio and video links, and we'll see you on the next AsArt. Master Chief glowing.
Helmet off. But I got worms.
Butts, yeah.
All these quotes we had in this
everywhere.